Well, Chris, let's dive in to the incident. Let's dive into what happened on the Cape Fear River.
Okay. Here's the weird thing. I was just part of the way down paralleling the river when I heard something in the woods beside me. I thought it was a deer to start with. And so I stopped and I'm trying to look through this thick brush and couldn't see anything. So I walked some more. And when I started walking, it started walking. Scared me then. I don't never get scared in the woods. But I got afraid. This sound started sounding like 2 feet. And so I stopped and I got down on my knees and I looked under the brush because along the edges it's really thick. Once you get in the woods, it'll open up, right, because of the tree canopy. Never could see what that was. 3 times it had me to stop and to get down to see what was that tracking me. So when I got to the curve or to the point where the road turned west and started up the hill, the sound stopped. And I'm looking up. I got about 30 feet from the top of that hill, and I began to see what I thought was the sun, the top of it, just the very top of it. When I first glanced at it, I didn't think much about it. I looked down to take another step because I didn't want to walk in the mud. And about 3 more steps up that hill, there it was in full view. And it was this blood red, tangerine orange ball of fire, about 40 or 50 feet around. And I was like, oh my God, what is that? I could see the flames going around it and the tips were shooting off. This thing's huge, like big, and it's only 300 yards away. It's just beyond the road and just at the top of the trees and sitting there. And it kind of frightened me a second, but I'm curious. I walked up 2 more steps, and when I did, now my field of view's gotten wider because I don't have the trees of the road. You know, I'm looking up the chute now, I can see more. And there's a second one right beside it. And that's when chills came over me. So I couldn't explain it. I dropped to my knees because by doing that, I'm using the hill to hide from them. So I'd raised my head up and I could see they were there. And I'm sitting here on the ground thinking, what in the world is this? I knew it wasn't nothing from this world. So I'm hiding there. And I crawl over to the ditch into these reeds. Reeds are growing wetlands. And so I'm peeking through these reeds, thinking I'm hiding from what I'm seeing, not realizing they'd see me. And I start making my decision to run. I got to run because I'm thinking about Chris Jr. back behind me down the hill. I've gotten frightened. I sit there long enough that it really frightened me bad. So I made a plan to run, and I turned my body. I'm sitting on the ground on my knees hiding, right? So I raise up, and I turn my body to run. I'm in the motion to run. And I look back one more time. I got to see what's up there. And when I did, straight above me, the third one appeared and went, shot right down beside the other 2. And I knew it saw me. I knew I was on its radar. And that's a different feeling. You know, somebody could see a ball of light fly by. Oh my God, I saw a UFO. And that does something to you. But when you see it and it responds to you, and the way that did, I knew I felt like a rat, a lab rat, or I was, I'm in trouble. So the next thing I know, I'm about 50 yards from the fire, and I'm kind of walking through this mud, and I have no recollection of what happened coming down that hill. I only could remember the last 50 yards of it going up to the fire. These 3 men are standing there around the fire. They're no longer fishing. Fire's burned down to a little small fire. And they're looking down, talking. They couldn't see me coming because I didn't have a flashlight. I'm coming out of the dark. I could see them from the fire. And I snuck up on them. And I said, hey, guys, you won't believe what just happened. And the first thing one said, where in the, and I'm not going to use the words they use, but where have you been? I said, I was just up at the hill. What do you mean? I told you I was going up to the field. They said, you've been going all night. I said, no, I haven't. I've been going 20 minutes. And we're arguing this, and I noticed Chris Jr.'s not there. And I told him, you won't believe what I just saw up top of that hill, these 3 balls of fire. Then immediately, where's Chris Jr.? Well, he went looking for you 2 hours ago, and we can't find him now. So I was worried about what happened to me up there. I was freaked, right? And here's my son missing. And I hear him. He wasn't answering me until I walked right up, almost stepped on him. And he come up out of these bushes and he grabbed me and he's weeping.
This is your son?
Yeah. It's traumatic because of the struggle he had. And it wasn't because of that so much, it was after, right? It was a lot of trouble after that he went through. And we'll talk more about that in a second. But, you know, to see your son in shock, eyes like this, shaking. So he's like, why did you leave me?
What was your initial thought when you saw your son like that? What did you think happened?
I was freaking out. I didn't want to tell him what had happened to me because he's talking out of he's saying things like, these creatures, Dad, these creatures, why did you leave me? Why did you leave me? I said, I didn't leave you, son. I've been gone but 20 minutes. He's, no, Daddy, you've been gone all night. And
how old was he at the time?
17. He's just a baby. You know, they're babies at that age. And so he began to tell me. I grabbed him. All he wanted to do was go home. He wanted to go home. He didn't want no more what happened to him. And they start towards him. Now, these 2 balls of light, they look like this big, and they're floating 3 feet off the ground, coming all the way down that road. And as they got closer to him, he got scared, and he started hiding. So he lay down on his stomach and crawled backed up under the thickest shrubs. And they came up within 20 feet of him. And what he saw were these 2 little glowing beings that were yay high, probably 2.5, 3 feet tall. And they had these bright red eyes. And the whole time one was staring at him. He couldn't shout. He couldn't move. He was in such terror. He was frozen. I led him back to the fire. And these guys were freaked out too because they'd heard what happened. They didn't know what happened. They knew that I'd been gone all night, and Junior's talking about creatures, and I'm talking about balls of fire at the top of the hill. So these men starting to get spooked real bad. And one of the guys looks up and points, oh, look at that. And when we all look up, and it looked like the brightest star, Venus, in the night sky, when it's just its brightest. It was 8 or 9 of these just appeared, and they just came on, and they went out away from one another, and they came back in a circle, and they made this big circle, and they were putting on a show. And then 3 of these things came all the way down and landed across the river, 60 yards to the other side of that river. They were up on the other side of it in a cut down. It had timbered the place out. So you can imagine pandemonium set in at that moment. We left out of there with fishing poles still there, coolers, everything we brought. We didn't even wait to touch it. And we jumped in that truck, and I'm taking off up through this muddy road, and one of the guys is beating on the back of my seat, saying, go, 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 and there's this red ball of light coming up behind us. And so I turned around after about a few seconds of stopping and panting. Dog's coming straight at me. He's coming through the forest. And I looked back to see if Chris Jr. was going to come up. And when I did, there was it's the same thing he described on the river, this little glowing being about yay tall with glowing red eyes. And it was glowing the color of the moon. It looked like a child. It looked like a 4-year-old child, about that size. It frightened me so bad that my hair stood up. Every cell in my body went, oh my God, I'm dead. So I went toward the trees to turn around instead of where I was standing, because I didn't want to get no closer to it. So I leaned into the tree and I turned and put my back to the tree and I said, I surrender. I don't mean you harm. And it said to me in this thunderous voice, it said, you don't understand. I'm not here to hurt you. We're here to help you. And from that point forward, I never had another symptoms of Crohn's disease. It was completely gone. This is where hell set in for me, because I'm telling everybody. They put it in my head that night that I had to tell the world. This blast air come directed. It wasn't in the woods and around us. It was right straight in front of me. A blast air hits me. As I hit backwards on the ground, I saw what appeared to be a translucent cow, a bull, run over me, and I could see stars inside of it, up through it. When the bull went over, I land on my back, and I'm getting up to run. So I roll over. Now I'm looking this way, and behind me, there's no cow anymore. There's a woman there. She's about 3 feet off the ground. She's glowing just the color of the moon. There's a circle of light on the ground. And she looks at me and she says, you know why I'm here? And I knew I was crushed, basically, because I'd had this overwhelming desire to tell the world what I'd seen. And then that night I cursed at the heavens and said, I'm never doing that. I'll never speak again. And now she's like, you know why I'm here? This is your burden you must bear. She said that. She said, if you'll tell this story, I'll always be with you. I'll allow you to share our presence with others and film us. So help me. I never had a picture of anything for the previous 5 years. Only inside the house would people see this, or out in my children. Now everybody's coming to the house and it appears overhead. It appears around us. And it's greater today than it was then. And magic started happening. And when that word got out, then comes this government. They want to know about this lady. This journalist comes from Canada, calls me, I want to come see that burning tree. He'd heard about it. Nellie stands up and starts toward the door when Grant turns. And when she walks by him, I see blood come out of her neck. And it shot way out like a stream of blood. And it's like I freaked out. And Grant saw it. And she sprayed blood all over his pants when she went by. And she ran in the back door, bleeding all over the floor. And I ran and tackled her and took her outside and laid her on the concrete. And I was going through my head, oh my God, and Grant's filming this from above, and all my kids are gathered around, and she's got a hole inside of her neck, across her jugular vein that long, and I could stick my finger in it that deep, and blood just shooting out when her heart beat. And I had my hand on it, blood coming up through my fingers there. And I knew she was going to die. There were 30 minutes from a vet out in the country. Couldn't call an ambulance. I went through all this in my head. I thought, she's going to die. And everybody's freaked out. And I just looked up to the heavens. I said, Lord, help her. She went limp. And so I picked my hand up, and that hole was gone. Everybody saw it, disappeared perfectly, like nothing had happened. She stood up, waggled her tail, and walked away. He filmed it all. And it didn't take long, that word got out.